Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Hello and welcome to Focus on Health. I'm your host, Peggy Mello. Today's guests are Marie Warda and Kristine Lindahl, health educators from MVP Healthcare. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Marie, why don't we start with you? Can you talk about what you do for MVP Healthcare?
Great. Well, thank you very much for inviting us. I'm one of the health educators at MVP Healthcare. We provide health education and resources and information to our members as well as the general community so that they can learn to take on life and live well. Also, by profession, I am a registered nurse, and I'm very proud to be part of MVP Healthcare family.
Okay. Kristine.
I'm also a community health educator at MVP Healthcare, and I'm out in the community doing fitness programs and all kinds of health and wellness education in the capital region.
Great. Okay, we're going to start with some facts about falls. And I'm sorry, I can't memorize these. I have to read them from a card. Accidents are the sixth leading cause of death in persons over 65. Wow. Falls represent 2/3 of these deaths. That's a lot.
Yes, it is.
30% of persons over 65 who are living independently fall every year. 60% of falls happen at home, 30% in public places, and 10% in institutions. Interesting.
Amazing
So obviously,
statistics.
it's definitely it's an issue, isn't it? Especially for seniors. Kristine, what makes us at risk for falling?
Well, Peggy, there are a number of things. Chronic illness certainly makes us at risk for falling. And some of these would be diabetes, arthritis, heart disease, Parkinson's disease, MS. You know, all of these increase our risk of falling. Osteoporosis also, fragile bones. Hearing and vision problems can create an increased risk. Foot, knee, and hip problems certainly put us at risk to take falls. And when I speak about feet, improper footwear that's not fitted well can be a real problem. Dizziness caused from low blood pressure, dehydration. This creates a problem. Medications, absolutely. People who have problems with coordination and balance, and this tends to increase for some people as we get older. This certainly creates a problem. Also, and I think this is something that we don't think about all the time, history of falls. You know, if someone has already taken a fall or more, they can be rendered fearful of falling, so then they will not do as much physical activity, and then this creates a problem of increased risk.
And maybe if you're fearful of falling, then you're a little bit tighter in your muscles.
Correct.
Your muscles are tighter.
Correct.
When you fall, you're going to get more injury, right?
Yeah, so it's that can be kind of a vicious cycle with a history of falls. Health behaviors, lack of physical exercise, poor nutrition, misuse of alcohol, poor management of our chronic conditions, and poor management of our medications. All of those are health behaviors that can have an adverse effect. And then there are the environmental hazards.
Yeah,
that I know
what I was
we're
going to ask about.
Yeah.
I mean, what if there's something in your house that you can do that can maybe reduce the risk of a fall? What can we possibly do to our homes?
So many things. So kind of in general, a big one is lighting. You know, is just to make sure that there's plenty of light everywhere. You go into a room, you can flip a switch, and there's the light. And really, I'm going to go through a few general things. Eliminating slippery floors. Meaning, you know, really kind of being conscientious about spills, you know, and getting them cleaned up. So clearly this is going to be a lot in the kitchen, bathroom, stay really on top of cleaning up spills. But also I think in general there can be floor surfaces that are slippery. And if there are, then it's useful to consider maybe putting in some indoor-outdoor carpeting or something that's going to eliminate that risk. Pathways, clutter in general can be a real problem. So you want to take a look around and really make sure that pathways that take you through your home are clear of clutter. You want to make sure that cords are, either taped or under rugs so that you don't trip on them. That can be a terrible hazard. Scatter mats, throw rugs. I like to just say, get rid of them. Some people really do love to have their area rugs. So with area rugs, you want to make sure to have the rubber padding underneath,
right,
so that they're really held in place. And one that I think people don't think about very much is unstable furniture. That chair, that old Victorian chair that you love from Aunt Rose.
So if you lean on it, to get your balance,
as much as you love it, you really want to make sure that furniture is stable in your home. And again, that you have plenty of light. They recommend that, especially for older adults, that most lighting is about 60 watts, so that you can really see.
Okay.
Now, another one that I'm going to just bring up that I think there's recommendation to eliminate this, but it's not always possible. Step ladders and, stepping ladders and step stools.
Right.
Many people, especially the older population, have moved into independent living situations where they are moving into smaller living areas than what they have moved from. So they really have to put everything that they have into every nook and cranny in that living situation.
Absolutely.
Which means that some things are going to be high up and not so easy to reach. So maybe there are some things that need to be accessed by way of a step stool,
right,
or step ladder.
We also shrink as we get older, right? So chances are you're going to be shorter when you're older.
Yes.
You're going to need a step stool.
So the important thing to remember is if you need to use a step stool or a step ladder, they have wonderful ones now that they have the rubber on the bottom, and they have a rail that literally you can hold on, so that you're holding on with one hand, and then you can reach and access whatever you need up in your cupboard. All of that said, in terms of organizing your home, you really want to have those things that you don't need to get to very much in those kind of out of the way places.
Right.
So, but if you need to use a stepping stool, get one that you can hold on to and that's not going to move at all when you're on it.
Okay, do they recommend night lights for the bedroom, for if you have to get up in the middle of the night?
Absolutely. So that's just, in terms of lighting, good light going into a room, going out of the house, and then at night, yes, night lights that will lead you on your way from bed to bathroom or wherever you need to go.
Okay.
Definitely.
Now, what are the recommendations about the entranceway of one's home?
Well, that your door opens easily, and this is one we don't often think about.
Right.
If you're standing there and you're working at a sticky door and suddenly it opens, that can really throw you off your balance. So you want to just make sure that your doors throughout the house open easily. At the entrance, it's very critical that you have a sturdy seat to sit in with armrests, so that you can really, easily get yourself down and up from putting your boots on.
Because you can tip over the side, right?
Absolutely. Just sturdiness in furniture is a good rule.
And maybe chairs without wheels.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or if they have wheels, that the wheels have brakes. But without wheels, I think is probably best.
Okay. And I guess the lighting is also an issue in the entranceway, right?
Always. And with the entranceway, both in and out, you want to have that light when you come in from outside, but certainly if, in the wintertime or at night, you want to have a nice bright light that you can flip on as you leave your home to get to the car, to get to the garage, or whatever. Also, and again, clear pathways. Inside an entrance, this is where boots are kept and this and that and the other. They need to be there, but then have them, in a neat row next to the wall so that you're not going to trip on them.
Right.
You're always kind of scanning to see that you're clutter-free. is a good rule of thumb. And then in terms of the entrance, you know, depending on your control over this, you want to have your mailbox easily accessible.
Right.
You know, if you need to walk to your mailbox, again, check the pathway, and is it easily accessible, clear path. If it's a walkway that's not completely smooth, to just to note those things, and then take your time to get to the mailbox, that kind of thing. And well lit, light, you know, is kind of true everywhere.
Now, there have definitely been times in my house that I've almost fallen while either climbing or descending stairs.
Oh, that's
hardwood floors and socks is very dangerous, right?
That's a big one.
What are some recommendations on fall prevention in a stair environment?
Well, one thing that people can do, and I think they don't often think about this, but it can be very useful, is just to actually kind of mark the edges of the steps so that you can look down and really clearly see, you know, the markation of each step. When possible, that each stair is the same height and depth is important also. Good lighting, and then also, you know, when possible, a handrail on both sides can be very useful. Definitely one, but when possible, and especially for older adults, really nice if they can have that added stability by being able to hold on to two.
Okay. All right, and let's say, what about the bathroom environment? What can we do for that? Marie?
Well, the bathroom actually is one of the places where a lot of seniors especially do fall, because it tends to be wetter and more moist, again causing some slippery conditions on floors. Some of the things that we want to keep in mind in a bathroom is to make sure that there is availability for a place to sit down. One of the best things that a senior can do as they get older is to perhaps put a shower seat into their bathtub if necessary, so that they're not necessarily standing all the time or sitting and having difficulty getting up and down. But using a shower seat and then a handheld shower wand would be very helpful for people who are a little bit more unsteady. In addition, it's important to have grab bars available. Again, you want to make sure that the grab bars also are well secured to the wall. That may need to be done professionally, because we certainly don't want someone to install a grab bar that isn't into a stud in the wall, and when they put their full weight to prevent themselves from falling, that the grab bar also comes away from the wall. Another consideration, although from a financial perspective may not be the best for all seniors, is to perhaps change their bathtub to a shower system, so that they can walk in, you know, do their, in essence, their bathing or showering, and then walk out versus having to climb over the top of a tub. You know, that can be difficult even for people who are younger on occasion, because it can get a little bit slippery with soap. Speaking of soap, very often falls occur because they've dropped their soap and they have to reach down to get it. They may be slippery or off balance. So another trick is to try to use a shower gel, or perhaps, you know, going back to the 60s, the soap on a rope.
I remember the soap on a rope.
Having something actually attached to somewhere in the shower. That way they can certainly soap up their hands, or their washcloth, but it won't drop on the bottom of the tub, therefore causing requiring someone to bend over, perhaps losing their balance, getting a little dizzy, and slipping and falling. The other things is when they get out of the shower is to make sure that there is an appropriate bath mat that has a rubber backing, so that they will not, in addition, slip and fall.
Right.
And this may sound a little bit strange, but having someone go into the shower with you if necessary, your spouse or a relative, that if you are really unsteady going into a shower, is asking someone to help you get in and out of the shower. Sometimes it may seem a little bit embarrassing, but I think it's really important for people to recognize if they are at risk for falls or they're unsteady on their feet, having someone there with you as support is something that might be really important and also would be necessary too.
Okay. Now, you have a few recommendations about the bedroom. What can one do for the bedroom?
Well, again, you know, if the phone rings in the middle of the night, you know, very often it's a little bit alarming. So making sure that your phone is close by. Also, if you're not feeling well, so that if you do have to get out of bed, that you don't have to go very far to call for help. So having a phone nearby is really important. Having a light that's accessible at your bedside stand is, again, equally important. Again, so that when you do have to get up in the middle of the night, if you do, that you do have that availability of having a well-lit surface, like Kristine mentioned, which is extremely important for seniors. Recognizing that a lot of seniors also have trouble with their vision, and can have conditions like cataracts, light is extremely important. You mentioned earlier, I think you asked a question about night lights, how important that was. If you very often do get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, having a night light in the bathroom to light your way, at least give you some guidance if your vision is more difficult at night, is very, very important. One thing that we don't often think about is when we're starting to get up. We want to make sure, first of all, that if you are getting up, whether it's in the middle of the night or in the morning, that the sheets and the covers are completely off of your legs and your feet. Because it's the worst thing to become tangled up in your sheet and then fall on the floor. You may not necessarily be standing, but you could just roll off. So that would be a real important thing to prevent an injury. In addition, you also want to make sure that you do some gentle stretching, some simple cat stretching. I have a cat, and every morning when he wakes up, he stretches every limb out as far as he can, and he takes a few minutes, and it looks like it feels good. And it feels good for us too. So again, moving your feet, sort of warming up your joints and your muscles just a little bit before you actually get out of bed. Very, very important, again, especially for seniors who may have more arthritic joints and a little bit of more sore muscles. There also are some other assistive devices. They're called transfer poles. That would be something that you would want to have a conversation with your medical provider about whether that would be of benefit to you. But one of the most important things is not just jumping out of bed and going to where you need to be. Sometimes you have to get up slowly. Again, making sure those sheets and things are off of your feet, and then sitting on the side of the bed for a few seconds and then acclimating yourself.
Make sure you have your equilibrium, right?
Exactly.
Because you don't want to get up when you're dizzy.
Exactly.
Okay, what about the kitchen?
Well, kitchen, my favorite place to be. One of the important things that you can do to help prevent falls is some of the things that Kristine alluded to before, is making sure that the things that you use most often are easily accessible. And sort of the rule of thumb is have them located between your knees and your shoulders so that you don't have to use that step stool. You can try to avoid that. And you also don't have to bend down as far and with the risk of possibly getting dizzy. So again, that's just a good rule of thumb. The other thing about the kitchen, which Peggy, I think you alluded to earlier, was the fact that your kitchen chairs are stable. Again, we want to make sure that they are very secure and that they're not going to break apart when we sit down. But you also mentioned rolling chairs, and I very often have seen rolling chairs in a kitchen. And although they may be great and functional for people, and people like to use them as to get around in a kitchen, but for someone who's a little bit older, going to a chair that they know is solid and stable on the ground is very important. Having throw rugs in a kitchen, although do help when you are standing in front of a kitchen sink or a stove for a lengthy period of time to cushion yourself, you also do have to recognize they could be trip areas that you could catch your shoes on or your feet on, and you want to be very mindful of that. Another thing is possibly using a cart if you need to transport things from a kitchen, let's say, to a dining area. Using an old-fashioned tea cart or something like that. Again, really being aware of where you're going and what you're doing, and using the tools that you can to get there and get there safely.
Now, I'm thinking of another chair that has wheels, and that's a wheelchair.
Yes.
I'm imagining that maybe a tip for a wheelchair would be to make sure that the lock, the brakes are
the
fully
lock is on.
secure.
Yes, that is a great suggestion that I hadn't really thought about. For those individuals who are in a house or in any setting, whether it's even out at a restaurant or out even shopping, that they make sure not only is the brake fully engaged when they stop and they want to get up from that chair, but also make sure that the foot pedals are in the up position. We do not want our seniors stepping over foot pedals to get out, because they do stick out a little bit. That could also be a trip hazard. So it is important for whether the person is using their own wheelchair or a power wheelchair, that they can easily get in and out of it. Power wheelchairs are a little bit different. Very often they will have swivel seats, so you can actually swivel around and then step down firmly on the ground. But most manual wheelchairs either have foot rests, Or you take the footrest right off and have the person in the wheelchair, in essence, hold their feet up a little bit or scoot their feet along themselves. Both of those things are very important, and thank you for bringing that up because I think that's something I probably forgot.
You can add it to your outline
will.
if you want to. Right.
Well, thank you.
Okay, now I got to tell you, one of the things that has really made me almost kill myself is laundry.
Yes.
When you're carrying the big basket and you're going up and down stairs. So what are your tips about that?
Well, you know, there's two schools of thought. First, we'll get someone else to do it. Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That sounds good.
That's not going to happen in most cases. Certainly, if you have the luxury of having your laundry on the same floor as where where your bedrooms are, because most of your laundry is generated either from your bedrooms or your bathroom and your kitchen. If you have a first floor home, certainly that's ideal. Your laundry hopefully could be put on the first floor.
Oh, yeah.
But most seniors who are still living in their homes, they have to go down to a basement, or they have to carry their laundry from their bedrooms to their first floor and then again to their basement. That can create a lot of risk for falls. There is a few schools of thought on that, and I'm not going to say which one is right or wrong, but I'll give you my own personal bias. Certainly carrying a laundry basket can be very risky for most seniors. An easier way of doing that is perhaps carry it in a small grocery sack type bag, or the reusable bags that we all get on a regular basis. Put it in that, hang on to that with one hand, and use the stair rail with the other as you walk down the stairs. The other school of thought is to throw it ahead of you and throw it down the stairs. My personal bias about that, because I was an emergency room nurse and saw a lot of people coming in, is when things are on the stairs, they may not visually see it when they go down. And then even though you throw your laundry down, you may actually trip and fall on it when you get to the bottom of the stairs. If you're going to use that method, my suggestion is you put it all into one laundry bag, cinch it up, throw the whole bag down at once. If you throw down pieces at a time, chances are one of them isn't going to make it. It may blend in with your stairs or your rug. You won't see it and you're going to slip and fall on it. So it's really important to be very mindful of your stairs, always being clear whether it's laundry or anything else that you carry.
Great. Okay, Kristine, let's talk about personal habits. How can we take care of ourselves so that we're not at risk for falling?
Well, there are definitely some things that we can do, Peggy. And I think first and foremost, get regular examinations. Be good about your eye examinations and ear examinations and your yearly physical. You know, be good about doing that. Get regular exercise, and exercise that's going to strengthen your bones. That includes some balance work is really important, and that also, strengthens your muscles. So some strength training is important. All of this helps us stay stronger and really kind of more balanced within ourselves, and it's going to decrease the likelihood of taking a fall.
Okay.
Also, though, just being mindful of things like, and I think Marie alluded to it, first thing in the morning when you wake up, throw those covers off so that you can rise up, sit on the edge of the bed, and take a minute before you get out of bed. That's a perfect time to do, some stretching and twisting and those kinds of things. But it also really gives you an opportunity to, be upright for a couple of minutes before then you're standing. And also, rising out of any chair, you want to take a few minutes and rise slowly, not get up too fast. You want to be really good. You don't want to skimp on your shoes. That's not a place to save money. You want to have really good shoes that give you good support, that are well fitted, that are really comfortable on your feet. And that's true with slippers too. If you're around the house a lot and you have slippers, have ones that really fit your feet. Don't wear long skirts or house coats, things like that.
Don't high heels.
No.
Okay.
Again, we've talked about night lights. That's very important. And also, I'm going to say this. I mean, a lot of people in the older population use canes, use walkers on occasion, maybe not all the time. But these aids are important, and they're very important to have, and even if it's only outside the home. But it's also important that they are the right height. So we recommend that if someone is using a cane or a walker, and really the measurement is the same for both, and you would have a friend or a family member or a spouse help you with this. But you want to stand upright. just in your comfortable standing posture with your arms easy at your side. And then it's the measurement from where the wrist crease is to the floor. That's going to give you the proper height for your cane or your walker. And these are great aids. They're really, really important. But of course, it's important to have them exactly the right size as well.
Okay, so we can't inherit a cane or a walker from our friends or relatives. We pretty
Well,
much need
not
to be
without
careful,
it,
right?
Yeah, not without a check on, making sure it's the right height. And if not, then go get another one.
Okay. Now, Marie, we've mentioned a few times about medicine. So how can medications affect our equilibrium?
Well, medications can affect us in many, many ways, but one of the things that we have to recognize is that many seniors are on multiple medications, and they all have different, symptoms that can be, or effects, adverse effects. And some of the contraindications for causing possibly dizziness and potential for falls can be some of the pain medications, because many powerful pain medications make someone feel very drowsy and not quite 100% alert.
Okay.
So very important that if you're on pain medications that you're even more aware of your ability to walk in a given area or maneuver around without falling, and you want to make sure that you're very aware of that. Antihistamines also can have an effect of drowsiness.
Right.
There's many of them on the markets, and there's also antihistamines or drugs that do the same kind of thing that don't cause drowsiness. So again, if you are at risk for falls or you're concerned about feeling dizzy and a little bit too tired, not being able to function as well, you want to make sure that you do address what type of medication that you take. Anti-anxiety medications, certain blood pressure medications even can cause some dizziness. Again, we need to make sure that we do review medications to address whether these symptoms may be problematic. At MVP Healthcare, we have a program called Medicine Bag Review, which we offer a few times a year to our members specifically. And basically what happens with that is we do with a pharmacist, we review all the medications and risks for potential falls with those individuals. And that's why that program actually started, was to look at the medications to make sure that there wasn't something different that the person could possibly be on that would cause a less of a risk for falls. Now, if you don't have MVP Healthcare as your plan, you can go to any pharmacist and have that conversation about what are my risks for falls with these medications? How would I better take them, or is there an alternative for me to take? So that's a real important thing. One other thing that we often forget about is alcohol use, especially in seniors.
Right.
For whatever reason, there's a number of reasons actually, but sometimes alcohol absorption seems to react a little bit more strongly with seniors. And one glass of wine, 2 glasses of wine may make someone quite tipsy and really feel quite a bit off balance. So it's really important that especially seniors recognize what their limits are and make sure that they are observant, again, of their ability to walk or to function in an environment without falling. Again, very often too, when someone has had alcohol, and especially a senior who may be reacting a little bit differently to it, is their reaction time may not be as good. So they may not recognize a concern for a fall, and may not be able to react as quickly in being able to correct the situation so that they don't fall.
Right.
So those are really, really important things to think about.
Okay. So is there anything else that either of you wanted to mention before we end?
Well, there actually was one other thing that I wanted to mention. I did say to you that I had worked in an emergency room for many years, and one of the real interesting things was many of the falls that would come in from seniors. They may come in with broken hips or legs or things like that, but very often we'd say, well, how did you fall? It wasn't that you were standing up and just fell over. Very often the stories that we would hear would be about their loving pets. And although, we all love our pets, but sometimes they can be a little problematic, especially if you have younger pets in the household. I have a 2.5-year-old cat, and his great joy in life is to see if he can beat me up the stairs. And so when I'm walking up the stairs, He's right there, right next to my legs, sometimes darting in front of me, which especially as I get older, I'm sure would be pretty startling. It is even right now. And the risk for falls for having pets is really significant, especially for seniors. If seniors are taking their pets out for a walk, if they're not well controlled, if they're a very large dog and they're not on a control type leash, very often they can get entangled in a senior's legs and again cause risk for falls. So it's really important. You can still have your pets, but try to make sure that they are well controlled, and be aware that if they want to race you to the top of the stairs or to the bottom of the stairs, that you let them win the race, because you don't want to be falling down the stairs. But one other thing that we didn't talk about, especially when we talked about the bathroom, if you were a senior living alone, you may want to consider getting an emergency call button. Something that, first of all, it's waterproof. Typically they hang around your neck, but if you do fall, and let's say your friend isn't coming over for a while, or your family, and if you've fallen and you can't get up, and I don't want to use that old commercial that was on TV, but it really made a point. If you've fallen and you're injured and you cannot get yourself up or get yourself to a phone for help, if you do press your emergency call button, somebody will respond. Either they will call your family, or there is an opportunity for someone to respond to you. Again, really important, especially as a senior living alone.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you very much for coming. Let's just mention the website and telephone number, Kristine.
Our website is www.mvphealthcare.com.
Okay.
And if anybody wants to know more about our presentations and programs, this is just one sampling. We do programs on memory and nutrition, strength training for older adults, positive thinking. We really have quite an array of offerings. They can call me directly at area code 518-388-2485.
Okay. Well, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for watching. We hope to see you next time on Focus on Health.